Unbelievable, man. Is there a wee trap door under this studio where you just pop out now and again?
I thought I would come in the flesh tonight, remind people that I do actually work here sometimes. How's it going?
Very well. Did you have a nice night off yesterday when I was having to man the thing?
Listen, I know you're up to it, Keith. I mean, I just thought...
This isn't, by the way, I'll tell you, you've got a problem.
Right.
Because, see, last night, I had Brian Cox at the start of the show. And now I've just got Little Cox.
Listen, I'll do my best to try and fill in.
It was brilliant. It was a great show last night, by the way, Dan. Just saying.
Listen,
a lot of positive feedback in that, you know.
I thought I'd let the little guys have a shot. We're obviously...
So you get to enjoy, eh? So you get to relax and enjoy the Scotland thing, and some of us workhorses just have to plough on through it.
I was just saying off air that I still can't believe we're there. It's mad.
It's taken a few days, isn't it? I mean, even when you're, and I know that we'll talk about the potential playoffs and all that, which thankfully I actually don't care. I don't care. It's not even going to come across my desk at any point. I don't care, but it is quite funny, isn't it? When you look at Italy are having to qualify through playoffs and all this sordid business.
I know.
No, not for us.
But you know, again, off air, we just said, see at the start, Denmark, Greece, you would have been like, look, give us a playoff place out of that.
Oh, yeah, you would have grabbed it.
But to win the group, amazing.
It's still brilliant. And the way we did it, and everybody's still on a high. And, well, I tell you what's interesting. I was down at Hampden today meeting SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell, who was rolled out, and I think it was... you know, maxi time because, you know, we've qualified. He didn't have really all that much to say. But what I found a bit strange was that when we were asking him, you know, first question, I take it you're involved in contract negotiations or at least trying to talk Steve Clarke into staying. No.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So what, not even broached the subject with him?
No.
That seems peculiar.
It does seem peculiar because, you know, on the one hand, you know, Ian Maxwell was saying, and quite rightly so, greatest Scotland manager of all time. He's backing the calls to give him a knighthood, but he hasn't bothered to ask him if he fancies him maybe hanging about.
I get there's this kind of perceived notion that he will go after the World Cup.
I think that's the problem, and I think
at least ask the question.
You would think that you know, at least sit down and say, what can we possibly do to make you give us one more campaign? Because bear in mind the campaign after the World Cup is a home Euros.
Aye, good point. Aye.
So you know, I don't know, but
that seems really strange to me. Like you think you would at least probably say, look, Steve, is there any chance?
It could be as simple as what's the point in asking the question when you already know the answer? But I would still look to explore it and exhaust it. But you know, if you're Steve Clarke right now, and you think the ultimate, the pinnacle was always going to be, can I take Scotland to a World Cup? He's done it. He's going to go there and enjoy it. Hopefully he takes the handbrake off when he gets there. But then you look at what's coming behind. And I'm still really optimistic because you've got Mick Gannon's wee brother. You've got Billy Gilmore. You've got, you know, there's a younger lot that are there that will still be there in another 6, 7, 8 years' time. And that gives you hope. But you look at Steve Clarke has moulded this squad, and it took him probably 4 years to get it to where he wanted it to be in terms of experience and caps, and you know, and we're there now. There is a feeling. Is there a bit of a rebuild on the horizon? And our under-21s, is there enough quality there that you think to invest another 4 years to build it into the same thing? So maybe, and I also think with Steve Clarke, there's probably, and I think he realises one big job left. While he's 62, I think he probably fancies a return to club football. But at this moment in time, when you know all of Scotland is bowing down to the guy, and the First Ministers wants him to go to Buckingham Palace, you would think at this point it might be an idea. Even just catch him when he's a little bit emotional and carry away with the thing. Say, look, do you know what, Steve?
What's happening?
Contract.
I know that seems like an
So I found that strange, but there you are.
If you're watching at home, you want to let us know your thoughts, not just in Scotland, obviously club football's back this weekend as well. And we've got already some comments on that too.
The nitty-gritty is back. Now, see
the
all
bread
this...
and butter.
this also all this nice romantic Braveheart wood and that's in the bin. We're getting back to absolute sheer hatred of club rivalries, and we can all start getting at each other again.
Absolutely. That's what we live and breathe, don't we?
Yeah, that's where we live.
If you want to get in touch, please do so. Let us know your thoughts. But while we're still on Scotland, Keith, Scott says, will we get any points at the World Cup? When's the draw? The draw's obviously December the 5th.
Yeah, in Washington.
In Washington, the Kennedy Centre. But rather than obviously how many points, who knows, but it does bring me to think about the squad and to think about any potential dark horses that might get in. If there's we talked a little bit off air, there's obviously a few names that jump out. Josh Mulligan's one that every time I see him play, I'm really impressed by. Kieran Bowie at Hibs is another. But obviously it brings us to Harvey Barnes.
Yeah. Harvey Barnes.
What's your thoughts on the one cap England winger?
What's my thoughts? My thoughts are I was very interested to see that no sooner had Scotland qualified for the World Cup than he was doing interviews with Sky Sports News and not dismissing the idea. Look, do you know what? It's a difficult one because there's a part of me saying, my God, imagine we had a £38 million and he could play a variety of positions, left, right, through the middle. He's jet paced, you know. It gives us. Could you imagine Ben Gannon Doak on one side, Harvey Barnes? I mean, now you're tooled up. But the thing that's bothering me is, wait a minute, you were given this opportunity. It was something that was being discussed. You clearly didn't fancy it then. So what's changed? I wonder what could have possibly have changed.
Cup,
yeah, that makes you think that you want to be considered for selection. I think that Steve Clarke will slam the door shut on that because I don't think that he was very happy with the way it was dealt with previously.
And he's a very loyal manager, isn't he?
And for Steve Clarke now to tell one of these guys, one of these foot soldiers, you're not making the plane because we're bringing in Harvey Barnes.
Imagine how you'd feel.
It'd be so. I think old Harvey he's left it a little bit too late.
Well, comments coming in.
I'll tell you what terrifies me though.
Go on.
Well, you know how I think Harvey Barnes qualifies on the back of having a Scottish mother.
I think that's the case, yeah.
Yeah. You know who else has got a Scottish mother?
Go on.
Trump.
Listen, if you can play up front.
And by the way, you could just about see it. And two things. One, imagine it because he seems to think he can get what he wants anyway. It's his country, therefore, if I want to play for Scotland in this, then clearly I should. But to see if he hijacks or see if he starts saying Scotland's his team.
I'm not having that.
Not having him either. He can go and sit with Harvey Barnes.
Aye, definitely.
And there's me not getting a visa now.
In the comments, Rebel says Keith, he's a good player. Scott says thought he had an England cap. He does it. One England cap
and a friendly
against Wales in 2020. Rangers.
Have we not got the photographic proof of that?
I think we do. And Rangers Easy OK says, I know people will say don't because he wasn't part of the campaign, but he walks into the Scotland team. And
he does.
Pace with Scotland.
I'm not going to argue with that. I'm not going to argue with that. And talent wise, he does. But it's not.
James says, not for me, turned us down and his heart is obviously not in the right place. Scott says Clarke is loyal normally to his players. That's where I finish up. He's a really good player, an excellent player.
And he'd make us better.
Aye, of course he would.
Of course he
would. But
is
he's not that much that you're going to sacrifice.
No, when these guys have done all the hard yards and they've broken their back for Scotland, and I just think there would be something really unedifying about that. Now, I wouldn't have minded if Harvey Barnes had thrown his tuppence in and wanted to be part of this qualification and did the work to help us get there.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. Even Harvey Barnes, how could you look at yourself if you took somebody else's seat in that plane?
I know.
Not for me. No, and I hate to say it because there is no argument with that. He would automatically overnight make us better. And be one of our,
best players.
Yeah, 100%. But I think there are some things that principle has to be adhered to here. And I'd be stunned if Steve Clarke at this late stage. I think it would have been different if Harvey Barnes had been prepared to come when he didn't know what he was going to get to a World Cup. But to just say now, these guys have qualified, I can jump in there. Nah.
There was also
off you pop, Harvey.
I do think it was just an online rumour, but Callum McGregor, if he came out of retirement, would that be different?
Well, that is different, isn't it?
He's already put in the hard yards for Scotland. Not in this qualifying campaign, to be fair.
No, but he's been part of the growth. He's been part of the whole thing. And I think he was encouraged by the previous Celtic manager to take a step back. And now that previous Celtic manager is the previous Celtic manager. Who knows?
Aye.
Who knows? And I don't think any of the players could begrudge him it.
If you were Steve Clarke, would you ask the question, or would you wait and see if McGregor came?
I wouldn't ask the question,
Right.
but if he came to, I once helped in a roundabout way reintroduce Scott Brown to Gordon Strachan's squad. If you remember, when Scott Brown was encouraged by the previous Celtic manager to take a back seat from Scotland. And then it was only a few months later, and Scotland were going to Wembley, and I helped bring the two together and help suggest that it might be a good idea. And the two of them cracked on, and Scott Brown came back. So I've seen it done.
Mm-hmm.
It can be done.
Would you? Yes, you wouldn't be that surprised if it did happen.
I would be. It's quite a major thing to hang your boots up, one day, and then just a few months later. It's very unusual. But as I said, I've just mentioned there, I've seen it done.
Right.
And I don't think that anybody would really begrudge Cal McGregor if he did want to come back in. He would say, I'm not sure that Cal McGregor, this sparked controversy. Would he walk into that Scotland midfield?
What do you think? See, Lewis Ferguson is a brilliant player.
Lewis Ferguson put in an absolute power.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, is he now?
Is he now a nailed down starter?
Cemented his place in the starting eleven. Because I thought he was outstanding the other night.
Pretty much.
And then you've got Gilmore to come back.
And you know what? I'll get pelted on here because I don't want to speak about Billy Gilmore. I'm a fanboy, but Billy Gilmore, as I keep saying, makes Scotland better. He's in my midfield.
Oh, he's brilliant. But Kenny McLean, and by the way, I was so happy for Kenny McLean because
that's just one of the great stories.
See when he came on the other night, see if you look back at Twitter, I know it's not the be all and end all, but see the stick he was getting coming on, and you're like, lads, he's playing for Scotland, and then the way it unfolded. But, so happy for him.
Yeah, and for Steve Clarke, because the kind of the criticism of Kenny McLean would be, Steve Clarke always, but yeah, you're right. And do you know what, guys? You just look at what happened. You look at the evidence before your eyes. Steve Clarke's not doing it for any other reason than he knows that Kenny McLean will do a job for Scotland.
Never let him down.
Never let him down. Never lets us down.
Aye.
So, maybe it's time for people to sit back, put their kind of whatever beef it is that they've got with Steve Clarke to one side, and just put their hands up and say, do you know what? The guy actually does know what he's doing.
Aye.
He's had 4 campaigns. He's qualified for 3 major finals with a Scotland squad. We've not been near a major finals in all the time before. He comes in, 4 campaigns, gets to 3, and by the way, we only lost out in a playoff to get to the other one.
Aye.
And that was against Ukraine, and nothing about that was real. That was a really weird set of circumstances around that. So no, I think finally, hopefully, Scotland, whether you're a big Scotland fan or not, but you can't be bored with a national team, and maybe these are the guys that criticise Steve Clarke, that I think we should all just accept now. The guy's got a fairly good idea, probably better than the rest of us, about how to manage our national football side.
Aye. Look, we've got comments coming in. Let me make one more visit to the comments on Scotland, Keith, if that's okay. David says, I thought Ferguson was average, kept losing the ball. What corner he put in for Shank's goal, though? But all our midfielders underperformed when it came to ball retention. I think that's a mad take from David, to be honest. This one from Big Rabbi says, if Scotland could get Calmac for the World Cup, it'd be massive. Massive for the middle, good as a sub. The injuries are bad, close to the time. Barnes is will be a start for years to come. This one is
that's a pro. I'm really interested. Yeah. I'm really interested to find out what the guys out there are thinking.
Andy as well says Barnes is exactly the type of player we need in the team. Our only other winger went off injured after 18 minutes on Tuesday. Kev though says if that's about Harvey Barnes, no way he should get in the team. A lot better players than him. And there's a one here as well where
better players than Harvey Barnes.
Apparently so, eh?
Okay.
And there's ones as well. A couple of people saying that the squad shouldn't be picked in sentimentality, should be picked for the best players.
And he will do that. Listen, that's one thing. Don't worry about that with Steve Clarke. Look what he did for the Euros. He binned Craig Gordon.
Aye.
So that would be up there with some of the toughest, or one of the toughest decisions he's ever had to make. He left John Souttar behind.
Yeah.
So he will make the calls, and he won't make decisions based on sentimentality. He will always do the right thing. But I'm not sure that sentimentality is the word that you would use for the Harvey Barnes situation in terms of he's not going to keep somebody through sentiment alone. But if he's got a guy that's done him great service and helped to be part of this whole period of, and it's been a renaissance for Scotland on the international scene. I think the players in the squad would think less of the manager.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If he sacrificed one of their band of brothers for a Johnny come lately who just fancies going to a World Cup.
See, even if it's a player that hasn't really played but has always been in the squad, I think even then that'd be out of order. But, you know, he's a player that always turns up.
Well, there you go. Kenny McLean, the perfect example. Would the Scotland fans out there, would you tell Kenny McLean he can't get a seat in the plane because we're taking Harvey Barnes?
Can you? You can't. I mean, look, who knows what will happen. But just to finish on Clarke, your loyal Muppet says, I think we realise how good Clarke was when he's gone. Kyle Gunn, a friend of the show, says, watched highlights again today. I think the contracting for Clarke, get him signed up now. All the haters will soon shut up after qualifying for a World Cup.
Probably not. Because this is football and this is the world in which we live, and there'll always be people that think they could do it better or they know better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are sometimes, and listen, I'm not a cheerleader. The Scottish national side, it really means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
So see, when we've got a manager in place that just isn't up to it, and we've had plenty of them, I'm the first one to try and get them off the premises. Steve Clarke doesn't do anything for me in terms of, favours for the media. There's nothing there. I tell you what it is. It's you're able to assess, to look with your own eyes. And if you're lucky enough to do what we do and you're travelling around and you're with the squad, you get a feeling for the thing because it's almost like you're on the inside of it. I've been around Scotland squads when people weren't having fun and when it was felt like a chore. And these are guys that love playing for their country, but it felt like a chore to turn up.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see schisms in the squad and you could see groups of players cutting about the airport together from their own clubs and not mingling with the atmosphere that Steve Clarke has built around this is one of the most impressive things. To get it right on the pitch, you need to get the right formula off it. Now, Steve Clarke has done this, but he's also impressed the players. The players love him. The players trust in him. The players trust his tactics. This is what I'm saying. I'm not cheerleading for Steve Clarke, but I identified, I could see it became obvious to me very early on that this guy was going to move us in the right direction.
Yeah. And boy, has he.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think I'm also the guy that went to a Bertie Vogts press conference and presented him with a one-way ticket back to Frankfurt. So
how did that go down?
I didn't care. I didn't care. He just had to go. I could have no more of him.
Aye. Poor Bertie.
Not poor Bertie, poor us.
I know.
What he inflicted upon us.
No, I know. David Hutchison in the comments says, just a thought, what about Steve Clarke as the next Celtic manager? And he's one of a few. Paul is also asking for an update on the next Celtic manager. That brings us nicely, Keith, I think, into club football. Celtic's AGM tomorrow.
Yeah.
That could be, anything could happen at that, couldn't it? I mean, I just wonder if Celtic are going to make some sort of major announcement.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I've kind of been hinting at it, Dan. I'd rather suspect that given what they've gone through and the traumas involved and the protests, week after week, game after game, they need to try and placate their support. Now, does that mean a head roll somewhere along the line? There's a sacrificial lamb in there? I don't know, but I think they've got to try and bridge the gap between the boardroom and the stands. They need to do something. They need to be seen to be doing something. Even then, by the way, I'm not sure that whatever it is that they have in mind will be enough, because Celtic fans right now seem to me to have put themselves in a really entrenched position. They're just not having this. They want total and complete change. Now, that's your starting point. Are they going to get that? No, they are not going to get that. So at what point do they say, well, that's good enough? If he goes and he moves to the side, and if Martin O'Neill all of a sudden is presented as, a guy with a position.
Do you mean
does that bomb-proof the rest of the board if Martin O'Neill comes in?
So you mean on the board like a
possibly
kind of a figurehead? Almost.
Possibly.
Aye, that's interesting.
I'd listen. I'm speculating.
Aye, of course. Aye. But stranger things have happened.
Kinda speculating. You hear stuff now. It's not confirmed. Far from it. Be fascinated to see what does happen. But I'm throwing it out there. If Martin O'Neill did take on, just roll with me on this one.
Mm-hmm.
If Martin O'Neill did take on a position on the Celtic board in some capacity, does that bomb-proof the rest of the board? Do the Celtic fans then take a big step back?
I don't think so, personally.
How do you sack the board if Martin O'Neill's on the board?
No, I think Celtic fans would see through that. I think they'd still want the meat of the board, the guts of the board stripped away. Personally, I mean, could be wrong.
I think you're probably right, by the way. But it's an interesting strategy.
I know, definitely. I definitely think, and again...
And by the way, it was done at Rangers, wasn't it? When Charles Green put Walter Smith in as chairman. And the Rangers fans, obviously, they were never going to turn on Walter. Walter Smith only took that job, by the way, because he wanted to be on the inside.
He cared so much about
to see how bad it was.
Aye.
And I think he thought that if he saw stuff that he was really concerned with, he could blow the whistle on it. This is a different set of circumstances at Celtic. So I don't know.
I do feel that there's, I mean, based on again nothing, I do think there's going to be something tomorrow. This isn't going to be.
They need to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
It's not going to be your run-of-the-mill EGM, but who knows? It could be. Are you surprised that Wilfred Nancy or whoever the next manager is isn't in place for this?
Well, I think they need to give some answers on that for a kick-off.
Yeah.
Where are we with this?
Yeah.
Because I think it was, the information that we were getting, and we spoke to Mick Gannon about it. I think the feeling was very strong that Wilfred Nancy would be appointed certainly before the AGM, with an eye at probably taking over for the St Mirren game. So why is that gone cold?
Why is it not happening?
Yeah,
they've had a good couple of weeks, and Nancy's basically.
Well, it's also the Celtic fans that are already pretty pissed off with the board.
Yeah,
are now looking at it saying, now you're making us a laughing stock.
Yeah.
Because we were laughing at Rangers just a couple of weeks ago when they couldn't appoint a manager in an international break and they were taking forever. And we're saying, how unprofessional does that make them look?
Yeah.
And now here we are, Celtic, we're doing the same thing. We're falling into the same trap. And, by the way, let's not forget, there's a title race on.
No.
It's not as if Celtic are sitting at the top of the league, happily looking down upon all the rest. They've got to catch Hearts. So, yeah, I think it'll be a fairly, it could be a bit of a tinderbox, the AGM tomorrow.
And even on the pitch, looking at Celtic, I think we can we'll see the full weekend's fixtures. We can put up on the screen. But Celtic have got St Mirren away, Hibs away, Feyenoord away, and then the cup final. I mean, they've had 2 weeks to get this manager in. I'm just stunned that it's not happened, to be honest. I'm really, really surprised. Columbus Crew are out the playoffs in America. I don't understand what the hold-up is.
Well, do you know what it shows you as well? It shows me, anyway, that there was no forward planning in place. Brendan Rodgers was emptied out the place in a fit of pique. It was a knee-jerk decision made clearly out of anger. And you make all your worst decisions when you're basing them, when they're made in anger. The statement that was released, which accompanied the Brendan's decision to resign, tells you everything you need to know. That was sheer malice. It was anger. It was all the wrong emotions. It wasn't cleverly thought out. Even if you've decided, I want this guy gone, well, keep him until such times as you've got the next man ready to, the next man at the taxi rank is ready to get in the back of your car. So this has been really badly handled, and it adds a bit of fuel to the fire in terms of the Celtic fans saying this board is not good enough. It's not functioning properly. They're correct. It's not.
Yeah. In the comments that are coming in, Sean says it's just my opinion, but I think Nancy will be inside a year on his contract soon, saving the board money and compensation. Crazy if so. I've seen that a lot of fans are speculating that if there's a certain date where it will cost Celtic less than compensation.
Right.
But if you hang on another couple of weeks, it could cost you you could be 10, 13 points behind in the title race.
And let's not forget that's also access into the Champions League, which is where all the money is.
Exactly. Big Rab says the Celtic board don't care about fans or the media's opinion of them. They've won how many trophies in a row? They just don't care. I mean,
I think there probably is an element of that. They listen. I think if you look back at any of the shows, this last little while has been very unusual. I think they've mishandled it spectacular. They've not read the room, they've not helped themselves. But I think generally, up until this period of mayhem, we've all praised Celtic in the way they run the club,
Yeah.
and because there's been nothing to do but praise them.
Mm-hmm.
They've piled up the money, they've piled up the trophies, good managers, good players. They've had, people have been falling over themselves to say what an example, a perfect example of a really well run club.
Mm-hmm.
This season, it's like they've walked through a looking glass. They've gone upside down.
Aye.
They don't even resemble themselves anymore. It's quite a sight.
Well, I mean, William in the comments, William says, well, clearly it's been a difficult year. It just seems strange to me that a board who's guided us to 13 of the last 14 titles, 4 trebles and a couple of doubles, I'm not sure a board anywhere else would be under such pressure. And I think that's...
And there's an element of entitlement about that,
Aye.
because when you're as successful as Celtic have been over this period of absolute domestic dominance, then the fans, I think it's a ludicrous state of affairs, but it is what it is, that Celtic fans will begin every season now thinking a treble is par.
As par, aye. That's mad, aye.
And that's where it is.
Aye.
That's how successful Celtic have been. That's how well run the club has been. That's how, good the managerial appointments have been. That's where Celtic are. And that's almost unsustainable. You would say it's unsustainable, except it's not, because 13 out of 14 titles tells you it's perfectly sustainable.
Yeah.
They've just made a real backside of things this season.
Rebel points out maybe there's a delay because Celtic are just quite happy with the setup they've got until January. And Dermot says, think Martin and Neil Maloney can manage till Christmas. They'll probably will suffer in Europe. Obviously, they've got this cup final coming up, obviously, on the 14th of December. Maybe it's a case that they want Martin and Neil to stay on, one more trophy. Who knows? The point is, they need to tell the fans that.
Yeah, so there will be. They'll have to come up with an answer, an explanation, a sort of summary of where the whole situation is at tomorrow. They can't sit in front of the fans and not tell them.
Yeah,
there'll need to be an indication. It'll be really interesting. There's quite a few things that I think they're going to get chinned on. I've been at these things, and from time to time, somebody will say something. So, some fans will arrive with something to get off their chest. They invariably do it. It can get a little bit moody, and then somebody makes a joke about Rangers, and everybody's laughing and joking again. So, but yeah, I do think there's an extra layer of potential explosive material around tomorrow's one for Celtic.
Across the city, Rangers is okay. Says, evening fellas, glad club football is back. Great chance for Rule to keep the momentum going in the league. The next 4 league games look winnable, and with Celtic and Hearts playing each other, there's a good chance to close the gap and see where we land. Obviously, just looking at the fixtures again, Rangers are at home to Livingston. Yeah, so I mean, it is a chance for Rangers. Really, I think after that's Falkirk as well.
If you don't beat Livingston at home, you've got a massive problem.
Aye.
And all the good work that Danny Raw has done in terms of fostering a relationship, reconnecting the fans with the team, that sort of goes out the window in 90 minutes if Rangers lose or drop points at home to Livingston.
Yeah.
You can't even think about doing that.
And then they've got Livingston, no disrespect, Livingston then Falkirk. They could then be looking at 5 straight league wins. They're at 3 obviously at the minute.
Which would constitute a massive turnaround in terms of consistency, because Rangers looked so flaky that a run of 5 league wins didn't look possible. So he's moving Rangers in the right direction, Danny Raw. There's no doubt about it, and I think he's been clever enough to identify, in order for him to do that, he needs to bring the fans with him. I think he's done some stuff. And listen, this is going to sound daft, right? But see, even the tracksuit manager, that's what he was at Sheffield Wednesday. Fact that he said right from day one, I'll be wearing the suit, the brown brogues. Do you know what? And people will say, and quite rightly, well, that doesn't make you any difference what manager you are. But it's not about management. This is about PR. This is about relations. And for him to do that, just there's been little nods, little things that he's said, done, that's clearly all aimed at, in order for this to get fixed, it's so badly broken, in order for it to get fixed, First thing you have to do is try and reconnect
Yeah.
the supporters with the team, bring everybody together, align them, and then you might be able to move forward together. You're not going to move forward together if everybody's, stabbing each other on the back and there's an unhappy kind of feeling about the place. He's been very astute, very clever for a young guy to work all that out and to play the PR card and to bring the fans on side. But this is what I'm saying to you. He has to do that against the backdrop constantly of knowing, by the way, if you lose at home to Livingston at the weekend, all bets are off.
Yeah.
So Livingston come to Ibrox, get a fourth win in the trot, tucked away. The fans will reconnect even more. The thing will start to get a bit louder.
I'll start to believe.
And all of a sudden, that 3 points, because Celtic don't play until 8 o'clock on Saturday
It's
night.
a late night Saturday night, yeah.
So all of a sudden, the 5-point gap is down to a 2-point gap. And it's a really difficult game for a Celtic side without a permanent manager.
When you think that Rangers, and they have had a disastrous season,
Absolutely shambolic.
it's only 5 points behind Celtic. It's bizarre. Like, it feels in my mind's eye like 15 points or something like that.
I mean, Hearts are so far off in the distance that you can't even be bothered counting the points. But it's going to be difficult for Hearts to maintain that, to keep. So if you're Danny Roll and if you're Rangers, you look at that gap, forget about Hearts for the time being. Just catch Celtic. Just see if you can chip into that 5 points. If you can chip it down, chip away at it, catch them, reel them in, get closer, then all of a sudden that momentum builds and builds and builds. Now, what Hearts do is Hearts business.
Yeah.
And if they can, they've got Aberdeen at Pittodrie.
Yeah, Aberdeen at Pittodrie
on Sunday.
Yeah.
3 o'clock kickoff, I think.
I think they'll win that.
I think they'll win it.
Aye.
Because it's Derek McInnes going back to Pittodrie, and look at what you could have won, Dons fans.
Gary in the comments is one of a few people saying Aberdeen might be a tough opponent regardless of the form. Hearts might drop more points. I don't see it that way. I think Hearts will come out and win that.
I think the international break came at a good time
Yeah.
for Derek McInnes, because they were showing just little bits of signs of it was starting to slow down the kind of maroon juggernaut a little bit. Maybe the pressure was starting to build. I think he'll have time now, albeit without Craig Gordon, who doesn't get a game, but he's captain Lawrence Shankland. I think he's had a bit of time now, maybe just to press pause, recalibrate, get back into the heads of these players, settle them down a little bit, and set them the next target. Because I think that's the way that Derek McInnes likes to operate. I think he's got groups of games throughout the season. So he wants a certain amount of points from this group of games. That takes him into the next section. And I think now, international break out the road, he's probably setting a target for them for between now and Christmas, or now and the new year. And he's an experienced manager. He's got more than a bounce out of this team. But I think maybe the international break, for some teams, it's difficult because it comes at the wrong time and you just want to keep on playing. I just get the feeling that international break was probably a good thing for Hearts. And I think they'll come back re-energised, refocused. And I can't see anything else but a Hearts win at Pittodrie.
RFC72 in the comments says Celtic will drop 2 to 4 points in the next 2 games. By the 3rd of December, there'll be 1 point between us. Scott says Rangers have 8 league games between now and the 3rd of January. Need to win them all, in my opinion. And that game on the 3rd of January is, of course, Celtic at Celtic Park. Probably couldn't argue with that. A lot of people, you're loyal Muppet, saying Hearts have dropped 6 points so far. They're already crumbling. Rebel says Celtic or Rangers win the title this year. Hearts third, in my opinion. I think we can actually see the league table as well as we go into this next raft of fixtures, Keith. Who do you make as the title favourites right now as we sit here? You can see Hearts there, 7 points clear of Celtic. Celtic with a game in hand. Hibs up there as well. Both Hibs and Rangers on 18 points. As we sit here right now, who's the favourite?
I think I've said it before, haven't I? That I would still have Celtic as favourite.
You did say that, aye.
But it's becoming the
you don't seem too convinced.
The odds are shortening all the time. Because Hearts are where they are. They're where they deserve to be for a reason. They've been the best team in the country up until this point. I think that they'll go again now. I think that, as I said to you, I think international break came at a good time. They can sort of channel all their energies back into it. I expect them to go again at the weekend, and it's very possible that they go off on another, good run of wins, and that leaves Celtic with it all to do. But, and I've said it previously, because they've gone the course and distance, because they've got the best squad in the country, I would expect them to just peg Hearts back a little bit. However, I have to say, the fact that they're going through the international break, they haven't appointed a new manager, there is this sort of feeling of uncertainty and dissatisfaction around. It's becoming harder and harder for me to sit here and justify not saying that Hearts are the favourites.
Yeah, and RFC72 says, you all said it was a 2-horse race, Hearts and Celtic. It's a 3-horse race now. Would you agree with that? Rangers are still in this title race.
No.
Don't think so? No?
Not at this minute. They need to do a whole lot more before they can be considered as genuine title contenders.
In January as well. We've still got January to come.
They have been so flaky that, and I'm giving Danny Rowell his dues. To get 3 wins out of this team back to back that's impressive. But 3 wins would need to become 4, 5, and 6 wins before you could actually really suggest that Rangers are capable of clawing that. There's a huge gap between them and Hearts. As I said, I think Rangers, if they can catch Celtic and get above Celtic, then at that point, you can say, right, okay, they're involved in this.
And like I said,
but right now they're looking in from the outside of a title race is what they're doing.
I mean, Celtic you'd expect in January to do business, but who knows with Celtic and Rangers as well.
I had Barry Ferguson's column for tomorrow was excellent, talking about exactly this. I think he believes this is real. There's a title race, that Rangers are involved in it. But it's one of the things that we previously discussed on Hotline Live. What do Rangers do with Nico Raskin in January? If Rangers are telling their fans that this is real, that Danny Rowell is the real deal, that Rangers really are involved in a fight to the finish for the title, then you cannot possibly even contemplate
I can't even think about
selling Nicholas Raskin in the January window. And yet, for all sorts of reasons, they might think that it's the right thing to do. So that's an indicator in terms of the messaging that sends out.
He's went on record, Raskin, a couple of times saying he wants to be here for the rebuild, and obviously there was rumours that...
but he's not signed the contract.
That's what I was going to say, but he's not signed the new deal yet. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's going to be interest in him in January.
I would make the case. I'd make the case to this, right? I think if you sell Raskin in January, and the only reason that they would do that, I think, is because they might need to wheel and deal a little bit. They might need to raise some money in order to spend some money. But I don't think you sell your best player. And even though some people will argue, well, with 18 months left in his contract at that point, you might be able to get a little bit more than when he gets down to 12 months in the summer. Completely disagree with that, because 18 months, 12 months, what's the difference? I tell you what the difference is with Nico Raskin is you keep hold of him, you do not sell before he goes to the World Cup. Nico Raskin goes to the World Cup and bosses the Belgian midfield. Rangers I don't care that he's only got 12 months in his contract. But you might get an extra 6 months out of him for the rest of this season when he's really motivated because he wants to be at the top of his game to go to the World Cup with Belgium. So you're going to get an excellent 6 months out of Nico Raskin, and then rather than sell a little bit on the cheap just now because it's 18 months in the contractual situation, let that roll on at the summer, let him go to the World Cup, and if you get 4 or 5 interested parties to the table at that point, you might get even more for him, having had that extra 6 months, achieve even more in the transfer market in the summer than you would in the January.
Plus, there's so many clubs that are so cash, the money's nothing to them.
Exactly right. And if they are to be involved in a title fight, if it is real, then there's then they must also consider the prospect of the possibility of Champions League football and the money that brings in. So, for all sorts of reasons, both football reasons and financial reasons, I don't think that selling Nico Raskin in January is...
I think that'd be madness.
Is even something that they can contemplate.
It'd be absolute madness.
But this is Rangers.
Exactly.
And the people that are making the decisions at Rangers, Kevin Thelwell. Kevin Thelwell has made extraordinary decisions. So would you put it past him
No, absolutely not.
And
No.
by the way, if Kevin Thirlwell thinks he's getting a hard time now, wait till him and his boy flog the family silver and let Raskin go for God knows what sort of price.
It's going to be interesting.
Well, and this is the thing, and we've all loved the international break, but as we said at the start of the show, we're back into nitty-gritty. We're back into people calling for people's heads left, right, centre. We're back into angry.
Back into the asylum.
Yeah, we're back into the anger of it all. And it starts this weekend, and we can happily say, because Scotland have made it to a World Cup, we don't even need to worry about the playoffs. Scotland will play again maybe in March. I think they'll arrange a friendly. So you've got just 5 months of absolute, undiluted, domestic bedlam to concentrate on.
Inject it right into the veins.
Inject it right into the veins.
I think for tonight that brings us to the end of Thursday Night's Hotline Live. Thank you for all the comments as ever. We massively appreciate it. We'll be back on Sunday, I believe.
I made a mistake last night.
You said at the end, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually thought yesterday. So just goes to prove, if anybody out there was thinking this guy doesn't even know what day it is, you're absolutely right. I thought yesterday was Thursday.
Well, there you go. We'll be back on Sunday at the usual time of 6 p.m, I believe.
6 p.m. after Aberdeen and Hearts.
Absolutely. Big test for Hearts. And we'll be there to cover it all.
Interesting weekend, and it could be indicative towards where this season goes from here. Celtic, massive game at St Mirren, difficult game. It's one of the ones you look at in the fixture list. St Mirren away is not a nice place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those. It's a really horrible fixture.
Mm-hmm.
Hearts, can they go up to Pittodrie? Derek McInnes, as I said, back to his old stomping ground. He takes 3 points, then that sends out a message. Celtic, who knows? No manager, difficult venue.
Very few striking options.
Rangers, Danny Rowe, if he fails to beat Livingston, then you're going to hear moans and groans. So there's so much about to come back into play. It's such a fascinating campaign already, and it's only going to get more interesting as we go further.
Absolutely. That's the perfect note to end it on. Thanks again for the comments. Hope you can join us on Sunday. Thanks for watching.